Since 2002 podcast with your hosts, Holly and Morgan. Alrighty, so today's episode is all about moving out. And what we mean by that is moving out of your parents' house and starting to work, going to college, anything like that. And specifically moving out at 18 is really what we're talking about. 18, 19, that area. So moving out like right after high school. We're going to talk about our experience with that. We're going to talk about some advice because back to school season is upon us. And unfortunately, there will be a large population that is moving out of their parents' house this August. Would you like to start with moving out?
Moving out?
Moving out?
Sure. So, I have an untraditional path. My first year, I went to a different school, and I was able to stay home that first year because of COVID. Then, I decided to transfer schools, which is what leads me to having to move out. So, my first move out story, I did color guard here at Marshall my first 2 years. So, this first year in general was my opening of moving out. So, Marshall has a rule if you live within, I think, 60 miles, or like out of 60 miles, then you have to live on campus your first 2 years. My first year was already taken care of, so I had to live on campus for 1 year. So, my first moving out story is into a dorm. How freaking exciting. I got to move into my suite a week before everyone else, so that had made it a lot better, I'd say, because the only people on campus when I moved in were athletes and band members. My whole entire first week straight up was band camp. 12 hours a day outside in the heat. So fun. So I move out. I leave all my friends and family behind. I felt a strong pull to Marshall since high school, and I knew that it was part of my path to leave and go there, or I guess here. I don't know, there was something within me that said that you have to do this, like something is there for you outside of life where I'm from. So I made the initial move. Obviously that comes with a lot of anxiety and nerves, but I knew that it was probably the best decision for me, and yeah. So I went with my gut and I moved down here. Band camp. So my first night here, but this is before I even known it was anxiety. I completely had told myself that I was sick. I must have been sick because I'd wake up in the middle of the night puking up nothing but clear liquid because I was barely eating because I was that anxious and just didn't know it was anxiety. And like I would not eat, and if I tried to eat, I couldn't eat all of it because I'd be too nervous. And I really did not know it was anxiety at the time. I just thought maybe I'm sick. Like my stomach hurts every day because I'm sick. Because in my head, I told myself, I was like, I don't need my parents to live on my own. I'll be fine. Like I don't need my friends and family. But like you literally basically cold turkey it. Like there's no transition other than one day you're with your friends and family, the next day you're down here all by yourself in a dorm.
Yep.
I'm like, well, hell.
And then you gotta fend for yourself.
Yep. And then now you gotta figure out how to live on your own. You gotta figure out how to cook. No one, like, my parents never cleaned my room, but, like, no one's cleaning your stuff. Like, that's all on you. So, yeah. I get thrown down here. Mind you, our band is, like, 100 plus people. So, 100 strangers outside of the 30 girls I know in guard. Which we've only had practices, like, 5 or 6 practices throughout the summer. So, I still barely know them. And mind you, practice isn't a social hour. It's practice.
Yeah.
So, like, you still barely know each other. I think band camp was a huge transition for me to get really comfortable with where I was before starting class, although that first year was as we've already talked about.
Yeah, I really think being in band helped you with the transition so much.
Yeah, 1000%, because it helped me to make friends in guard. Like that's when our friend group was like established basically within guard, and obviously I start meeting their friends, like, and then like vice versa. Because I didn't come down here with anyone. I didn't have any friends. Like, no one came down here with me. No one transferred to Marshall with me. Everyone, like, my 2 friends from home went to WVU. Because I said that faster than hell. I hope y'all even understood that. West Virginia University. Not my path. Many others.
No.
I don't think band was the anxiety. I think it's first time I ever moved out on your own in a room all by yourself, because my roommates didn't even move in for a full week. Every day, I'd come home, no friends. And then, once again, I didn't know I had anxiety as bad as I did until, like, recently. Because I've done a great job of pushing it behind me.
Yep.
Then it came and slapped me. So yeah, here I am all alone, vibing. I survived, which we'll get into how and why later. But yeah, I got here, sat alone. I did it. I made friends, and convinced myself I was dying and sick, and I needed to make a doctor's appointment ASAP, or I was going to die on the floor. I didn't die on the floor. What a shock! Speaking of shock, I think it's a huge shock to your nervous system.
Absolutely.
Because now you don't have a home anymore. You can't call a dorm home when you just moved in last night.
Yeah.
So I don't have any new home. It feels like a hotel stay for so long.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. I so agree with that.
It feels like a hotel for so long.
Yes.
Like, especially being in a dorm room, I have to, like, check in at the desk and, like, tap in every day. Oh, God. And then get on the elevator and go to my room. I was on the 3rd floor, and it's like, oh. I don't think I ever cried or, like, out of anxiety, but I definitely was, like, it just felt wrong. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest word I have for it. It felt wrong.
Yeah.
Because I come from a family of 5, so 5's are just me. It was just me for that whole week. And, it, like, I appreciate being alone that first week, which is crazy because then the second semester I was all alone for a whole semester. That was the first time and only time I've ever lived alone. Mm-hmm. Like, I've never lived alone since. So, yeah, I lived alone that first week. It helped a lot. It helped the transition better before people disrupted my peace. Mm-hmm. And by the time they disrupted my peace, I was settled in. I wasn't comfortable, but I was settled in. My room was decorated. I sit there thinking the dorm life, and that's wild. Like, you really just get dropped off in the middle of nowhere. Your parents help you set up a little bit of stuff. And, like, mind you, the day I moved in, we had band camp at, like, 5. So I got there, had to sit up and immediately go to band.
Ew.
Yeah. So you don't get a moment to just sit with your thoughts. You get a moment to unpack your bags. You get home at 9:30. You have to be there at 9 a.m. the next day. Mm. Basically, I started my journey of moving out alone in the peak of band camp. All down here with a flagpole in my hand and figuring it out. And yeah, that's basically it. I'll get into the rest later on when we go view the advice portion.
So with my moving out story, I'm transitioning from high school to college. I moved out as soon as I graduated. I moved out in August, so a few months after I graduated high school. And it was really hard for me because I'm an only child, so I have a really close bond with my parents, and it was really hard leaving home for me because obviously I'd never done it before, and like you said, it's a shock. Like, it really is. Thankfully, though, I had a childhood friend who was moving down here as well, and we decided to get an apartment together because where I lived so close to campus, within the 60-mile radius, I could just say that I was living at home, but live wherever I wanted, and just use my home address. So that's what I did. That's what we both did. And we moved in together, and I think that was the biggest factor of making moving out seem as normal as possible, because I did have that friend with me, and we already had a decently close relationship, and we were able to go through all of this together, have someone who was going through the same things as me with me every day. So that was a big, huge factor, but I was still incredibly anxious. Like, I remember about a month before I actually moved out, I remember my mom and I drove down to where the apartment complex is, and we just drove by because Mom was like, oh, I want to see where you live. And I was like, yeah, me too. And we drove through the complex, and then we left, and I just had a massive headache the rest of the day from tension and anxiety, and it did not go away. I felt nauseous, and obviously that's because of my anxiety, and it just made me so nervous to even think about moving out. So the first night comes, my parents obviously come and help me set up the apartment, and then they left, and everything was decently okay. Like, I was fine. The very first night, I cried my eyes out in the shower because of how anxious I was, and then after that, I was decently okay because I had a lot going on. I had campus events to go to. My class started up like that next week. So I had a lot of distractions that distracted me from how anxious I was. And then just getting into the groove of things as school started really helped to calm my nerves and get me into a settled routine. So that's my backstory for moving out.
When you were talking about coming down here and driving past, my dorm was literally just 2 blocks away. Every time I came down to practice, or for practice, I'd drive down 5th Avenue, and our campus is super pretty in the summer and the fall. And I would just be so happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm coming here. This is where I belong. That's how I felt before I went to state. The odds were against me my first year when I ended up at state. But that second year, no one was stopping me from coming here. No one. Absolutely no one. You couldn't stop me. But once I got my room assignment, I would drive past the dorm building, and I would just be so freaking excited because I could not wait to move out. Like, that's all I wanted. Like, that's what I wanted to do a year. So I was already a year, like, later to doing it. So I was like, I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm ready. That first year, though, anxiety out my ass. Didn't even know I had it. So anxious leading up, which is what ended up making me, like, decide to go to state because there was rules in 2020. Like, if you lived in the dorms, you couldn't have visitors. Mm-hmm. Most classes were virtual. The band got sidelined. Mm-hmm. So we couldn't even perform a halftime show. We had to spin in the stands. Absolutely not. There was just a bunch of odds why I didn't come down here. Because now you're telling me I'm going to move down here. I can't even have visitors in my dorm. They had a bunch of rules and guidelines and crap you had to do. And I was just like, it's just not worth it. I'm going to wait a year. And if COVID's still a thing, I'll suck it up and I'll move. But yeah, I think that's what also, like, fueled me. Like, I feel like not moving that first year helped me get over the majority of the anxiety I was feeling.
Yeah.
The majority. It was still there.
Yeah.
But I feel like that extra year really helped me. But that extra year wasn't really by choice. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's part of the reason why when I came down here, I was more, like, on the excited side. Because it's something I'd wanted for so many years. Like, all of high school, I knew I was coming here. I was more excited than anything, but the anxiety was still marinating.
Yeah, I had a little bit of excitement, but it was mostly anxiety.
As it should be. Because it's scary.
Yeah.
You go from a little high school to, whoa now.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, one of the things that really helped me whenever I moved down here, which my mom suggested because my mom has really bad anxiety, mm-hmm. So this is something that she did whenever she moved out and went to college. My roommate that I came down here with, we literally, the week before classes, we drove to campus and went in all the buildings we had classes in and walked to our class. So we knew exactly where we were going that first day because they keep the doors unlocked. Mm-hmm. Because there's teachers in there, you know, summer school, whatever. So we literally we parked, walked in the building as if we were going to class, saw where we were going, and that really did help me. Mm-hmm. Because obviously this is foreign territory. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even have campus memorized.
Yeah.
So really just going in there, seeing how the buildings looked, looking at how the classrooms are set up, really helped me. Mm-hmm. And then another thing that helped me my first week going into classes was getting there early so that I could be, like, one of the first to sit down. And that's just me with anxiety, like me having social anxiety, but being one of the first to sit down so that I could pick whatever seat I wanted and I didn't have to walk in front of a bunch of people. That is one of the things that also helped me with my anxiety moving out and going into my first week of college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I should have done that. I wish I'd done that. I know where the band complex was.
So another thing that I want to add to my moving out story, which actually just happened the other day, but it kind of just made me think back and made me reminisce because this was 4 years ago. I was watching Gilmore Girls, and I relate to Gilmore Girls a lot because the mom has a daughter, and they have a really close relationship, and I feel like that resembles mine and my mom's relationship with me being an only child and us having a close relationship. So I was watching the Gilmore Girls episode, and in the episode, the daughter moves out and goes to college. And the episode is all about, like, that transition and not only how it affects the daughter, but the mom as well. And the daughter was just really anxious and nervous about it for obvious reasons. And then the end of the episode is what really got me thinking. So it shows the mom driving home and then coming back to an empty house. No noise, no child, no nothing. And she just like looks around like, what do I do now? And I'm like, oh my God, because that's something you don't think about. You don't think about the parent's perspective because you're so worried about yourself in that moment and making it through the night or making it through the week or just getting through your anxiety, and your classes are coming up and you've got so much stuff going on that you can't even think about your parents at this point.
Yep.
Like, that's the last thing on your mind. And I just remember, like, I'm sure it was so tough on my mom, like, moving out, because it was just me and her in the house. So now I'm gone and it's just her. Not only was that transition really hard for me, but I'm sure it was just as hard on her, which is wild. So yeah, I mean, moving out it can be just as hard on the parents as it is on us.
Yeah, I know it was hard on my mother, especially, like, I know it was hard on my parents both of them, because obviously I'm the first child, and like they knew that day it was coming.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they knew, but I think the only thing, or like one of the main things that helped them is obviously still having 2 other children, and they were both still in high school, so like they have to be there.
Yeah.
For those, like, whenever I moved down here, I think my sister was a senior, yeah, and then my brother was a junior, so they still got like 2 more years, and they both still live at home now. So
moving into the advice section now. So going along with what I said a couple minutes ago, I think getting into the groove of things is a huge, major distraction from all of the anxiety. Because once you're going to class every day and, you know, you have homework now, you have all these things that you're doing daily that help you stay distracted, help you kind of get over the nerves. Obviously, getting into the groove of things helps you be less anxious, because part of what you're anxious about is going to class or living on your own. So once you figure out that you can do it and that you're fine and you're okay and you get a good routine, then I think that helps a lot with the anxiety.
One of my things is get involved, because when I was doing guard, we had practice Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and sometimes Saturday if we needed it. And I feel like that was a huge distractor for my mind, because like obviously I had a few family deaths that semester, and one of them was in the very beginning, like not even 3 weeks in. But I feel like that helps the transition, because obviously I have class and then I have practice, so I know at least like guard was my out for both years I did it. For all my all the years I ever did color guard or majorettes, that was my out. Like that's what made me feel like I belonged somewhere. I feel like having practice and like knowing they're each of the 3 days a week, and then sometimes Saturdays when we had performances, I always had something to look forward to.
Yeah.
So that helped distract my mind from the anxiety that was moving out going to college. So
I also agree with that. I think being in a group like that, even if it's like a club or a sport or band or possibly rushing a sorority or fraternity, I think being in a group really makes the biggest difference, because it's the best way to make friends quickly.
1000%.
Because you're forced to be on a team, you're forced to be friendly with everybody, so you're gonna find people that you like. And for me, it was kind of different, because where I am so close to home, a lot of people that I already knew from high school moved down here, and obviously I had my friend who we had already been friends for a really long time moved down here with me. So, you know, her mutuals became my mutuals, and that's how I got away with not being in any groups. But I also made friends in my classes, so that helped me a lot. I have a kitty cat now.
You do. You've acquired a friend.
But one of the biggest things that was recommended for me to do was to make friends in my classes. So if somebody sits down next to you, be like, oh, hey, you know, what's your name? What's your major? If it's just a general class. Or if you see an empty seat next to someone that you think you would get along with, or you think you have the same vibes from them, be like, hey, can I sit here? By the way, what's your name? What's your major? You know, things like that. Is this your first year too? Do you live down here? There's a bunch of questions that you can ask someone to get to know them. And, you know, if you don't end up being friends outside of class, that's fine. At least you have someone to talk to in class, or someone to potentially help you with homework or quizzes, tests, whatever. So I think if you're not going to be in a group or a sport or anything like that, I think one of my biggest tips to help with the anxiety surrounding moving out would be to try to make new friends, because this is where you're at for a while. This is your new reality, so you might as well make the best of it that you possibly can, and make some new friends, make some connections, and that'll really help distract your mind from moving out, and it'll help create a new normal.
I agree with everything you said, actually, but one point that stood out was, I feel like I'm on a college discussion board right now.
One point that stood out in your discussion.
You just pointed out that I really agree with, to get the word count up.
Oh, yeah.
Is like the class thing, because that's something I use every single semester.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be new faces every single semester. And I'll like go in, like obviously I have my friends I've made, and like we'll schedule together because we're in the same major. I'm to the point in my major where a lot of the people I see are the same faces. You make friends within the group of people you're with, and like you get to know them better, so like they'll ask you about your life. It's not just about class anymore. So then it does feel like a real genuine connection. Like I know this semester coming up, I have classes with people, so it makes you like less worried about it. But like especially in that first semester, it's definitely like to get to that point of comfortability. Yes, comfortability. Perfect. You get the point. You have to hop out your comfort zone in the beginning and just introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Like, and I promise you, people are not as intimidating as they come off as, because everyone is in the exact same situation as you.
For sure. And if someone says they're not nervous or anxious, they're lying!
Bull.
They're lying to you!
Bull crap. My next point is follow your gut and move where you're pulled to. Because, obviously, you probably already know where you're going if you're this close to moving in. But I feel like if you're pulled to a different school, go there.
Yeah.
Don't follow the crowd. Like I said in the beginning, obviously I came to Marshall and my other friends went to West Virginia University, because I can't say WU without saying it right. Literally. I'm over here speaking in gibberish. So, since my other friends went to West Virginia University, I went up there and I toured multiple times with them, and it didn't feel like home to me. It didn't feel right. I knew that's not where I belonged.
Yeah, you should never make a decision based on other people.
Absolutely not. Never. I don't care if they're your best freaking friends. These are my best freaking friends. Follow your gut where you're pulled, because I was pulled here. I knew I needed to be here. I don't know what it was. I'm like, slowly, obviously, I'm figuring out exactly what it was. Like, I wouldn't know the people I know. I wouldn't be sitting here right now doing this.
Yeah.
Like, follow your gut. This is where you belong. This wouldn't be a thing if I was still living at home.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Everything has a butterfly effect.
Yeah.
I think also, to go along with that, if you're pulled to stay at home, then stay at home.
You know?
If you truly feel like you're not ready to move out, then don't. If you need an extra year, then stay home. But if you think it's in your best interest to move out, then do it. I mean, that's what I thought. I knew it was going to be difficult. I knew it was going to be hard, but I knew that it was temporary, and I would get over the anxiety, and I would get in a routine. And I knew that it would be great. And it was.
Literally. Now I could never picture myself moving back home. Like, that makes me go, ugh. To follow up with that, I have, even if you feel like going back home, because this is how it goes for a lot of people, is you let your anxiety rule your life and you move back home.
Yeah.
I have, even if you feel like going home, keep pushing and know things will get better. Because I see a lot of people, like, they'll transfer to a different school the spring semester before they even make it through the first month. Because they let their anxiety or something else control their life. And I'm like, no.
Let's get some therapy going.
Literally. There's something, like, deeper than, oh God, I can't do this.
Unless you just love your hometown and you want to stay there, have at it.
If you love that hometown, you have at it. If you have a better hometown than wherever you come from, then hallelujah for you, buddy.
Yeah, happy for you.
But I don't want to go back. I ain't never going back.
I'm not either.
No, thank you.
You know, that just brought back a memory. I think one of the reasons why I had some excitement for moving out was because I was ready to move into the city. So,
Yes.
Like, coming from a small town, I was ready to have all of these new opportunities, be able to meet new people, and just branch out. And
Yes.
honestly, I was excited to get out of my comfort zone. Like, I felt like it was time.
Yes. 1000%. That was my biggest thing, is like, obviously I lived in my like small town, but something I forgot to mention earlier when you were talking about how like your roommate, like how you make friends and then you meet their mutuals and all that. I feel like that also goes to be like, those are your roommates in the future. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
me and my other friend, like, obviously we're not friends now, but me and you wouldn't be friends if it wasn't for her because she was a mutual.
Yep.
So, crazy.
You never know who you're gonna meet.
No.
You never know.
You really have to put yourself out of your comfort zone to meet new people, but
Absolutely.
it's worth it.
Moving out is getting out of your comfort zone, period.
Literally.
My God.
Because I don't care what you say, that house is a comfort zone. That's your home.
Yeah.
That's where you. That's all you've ever known. Now you're like, off of my own. My other piece of advice is to realize that you will be okay, and your parents are always a call away.
Absolutely.
Because I definitely took advantage of FaceTime that whole first year.
Yes.
Like, if you're missing your parents, just call them.
Mm-hmm.
Because chances are they miss you too.
Absolutely. We should definitely be calling our parents more than we do. But, life gets a hold of you. And that's what I'm saying. Whenever you get in that routine and the flow of things, it's like your new normal. And once you find that new normal, you're not as anxious anymore.
Yep.
But I agree with that. Definitely calling your parents helps with the anxiety a lot.
Yes, I would stay on the phone with my mom for hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hours if I was, like, feeling really anxious. And, like, even her just sitting there and, like, me doing my homework would help.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, when you're that anxious, it's like you just need someone's, like, presence.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't like your dorm mates or your suite mates.
Yeah.
Basically, take advantage of your resources, like I've
Absolutely.
said.
Yeah,
So.
and even going home on the weekends really helped me.
Mm-hmm.
I went home every other weekend my first year down here, and I'm like, I don't do that now. But
I didn't have the option.
yeah,
I was
every
very
other
busy.
weekend I was down there for the whole weekend because why not?
Yeah. I say definitely go home, but don't go to home too often because I feel like the weekends in college are like where a lot of the fun happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people that go home every single weekend. Every
That's
single
crazy.
weekend. Like, there's no point in that. You might as well just live home.
Mm-hmm.
Live home. Might as well just live at home.
Yep, I agree.
Because I'm like, personally, I went home more that first year, obviously, because like you still miss your family. Like, obviously I have siblings that are younger than me, so like I don't want to miss out on too much in their lives while they're still young. So yes, I feel like that's definitely a balance thing. But I feel like even every other weekend's still fine. But if it's every single weekend, come
Yeah.
on.
Speaking of your family, do you feel like you had any guilt as the oldest sibling for moving out?
Yeah, for sure. Because like my family, like we're super close.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't regret anything, but sometimes like it makes you really reflect. And I wish I would have spent more time with them that year before I moved out
Mm-hmm.
because I never was home. Absolutely not. Like I was always with my friends because like I think it really comes down to like priorities because it's like, do I prioritize my friends this whole summer or do I prioritize my family this whole summer?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a constant like, I'm moving out soon, so I need to get as much time in with them. I need to get as much time in with them. And it was just a battle. Eventually, you balance it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It feels like you're leaving them behind because, like, you have to.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was definitely, like, it's more like sadness than anything. Because, like, I'm obviously close to my siblings, I still am. But then you're also got a phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just call and talk to them if I, like, was missing them or, like, if they wanted to talk to me. And, like, I still call them to this day.
That makes sense.
You know. So yeah. My next one really comes from, like, before moving out. I have start planning on buying things sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Because you don't realize all the stuff you need.
Yes.
Like, oh my god.
that
like,
is so true.
The simplest of things, like scissors.
Yes. Freaking tape.
Tape, scissors, random stuff that your parents always just have there.
Yes.
And you're like, well, hell, I actually have to go buy this stuff. And, like, luckily I had a family who, like, they bought everything I needed.
Mm-hmm.
There's barely anything to come out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Like, they help me with my decorations. They help me with everything. It's easier when it's a dorm because you're not furnishing, like, a whole entire apartment or, like, a bathroom or any of that. Like, for me, I was like furnishing a bathroom, but like there was 4 of us, so it was like, who wants to buy this? Who wants to buy this? Who wants to buy this? I feel like that first year, especially, there's tons of stuff you don't even know you need. So definitely use your resources on that. I remember watching a lot of TikTok and YouTube to figure out like things people were bringing and like things you need. If you're living in the dorms, you definitely need a mini fridge and you definitely want a microwave because and don't get no communal mini fridge. That's stupid.
Yeah.
And at least here, you can have your own mini fridge in your room. Each room can have one, and I swear all 4 of us did too.
Yeah.
Because you can only fit so much in those mini fridges, but they saved my life, and my little microwave saved my life because I was still able to cook. We also had an air fryer and we had a coffee maker. So
yes, air fryer huge. You can make a lot in an air fryer.
Oh yeah. So yeah, those are the 2 main appliances that are expensive, but they're necessities.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my mom and I started prepping for my apartment at least 6 months before I even moved in. Like, we would take...
Oh, very ahead.
Oh, yeah. We would take random trips to Marshall's, TJ Maxx, wherever.
Yep, those are the main ones to go to, too.
Yes. And just... I'm like, oh, I like that. Because with those 2 stores, you never know what you're going to find. No. And if you go back the next week, it ain't going to be there.
Nope.
So, I would find hand towels. I would buy those. I would find a blanket. I would buy that. So, we just randomly collecting things. And then when you move in, you have everything.
Literally.
So, definitely plan ahead and buy ahead of time because that will help save so much stress with moving out.
Yep, I had totes full in my room.
Yes.
Stacked of stuff I needed to move. Like, for, I'd say maybe 2 months before is, when I started. But I should have started earlier, but I was still in the I don't really care phase.
Yeah.
Depending, the size bed, I had a twin XL when I moved. So, you need a mattress topper because you ain't sleeping on that bed without a mattress topper. Absolutely not. You need new bedding and bed sets, and there's just, the list goes on and on. Make sure you're planning ahead because you don't want to get down here and, oh crap, I forgot this. I've got to go to the Walmart that's been picked through because every single other person forgot it too.
Yep. Things to make your life more comfortable. A fan. Huge.
Facts.
Oh my god, a fan.
I did not have a fan.
Saved my life.
I finally had a fan last year, and now you couldn't pay me not to have one.
Exactly.
That fan goes on at night even in the winter that fan's on.
Yep.
I don't care. You need the noise. The noise in the air, dead.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely just do your research on what you need and what you think you need. Don't overpack. Sometimes you'll overpack. If you're going to be in the dorms, don't overpack. You don't have room for all that crap. You're not going to use all that crap.
Yeah, I think, now that you say that, reminds me, my first year here when I was in my apartment, I think I over-decorated my room a little too much, just because I was I obviously had a job, and I had a little bit of extra money, and I was just in that, happy decorating phase.
Yep.
Because it's the first time I'd ever had my own space to decorate, and had the free liberty to buy whatever I wanted and decorate however I wanted, and it did get a little cluttered, but my room's not like that now.
Me? I feel like you just get really, excited. So
yes.
Then, especially when you're already working and you have money. But the greatest thing about it is you can really carry on a lot of the stuff you get your first year on and on.
Absolutely.
So, it's is that first year moving out hella expensive? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you'll have most of that stuff for years to come, so.
Oh, yeah. My, mirror that I do my makeup in front of, the mirror, my big, long mirror that it's a full body mirror I still have. I still have a lot from when I first moved. So it's kind of like an investment. You invest the first year, and then you can carry it on the next couple of years.
Yep, and then you just add on as you go. That's what I do to my room.
That was off topic a little, but we'll get back on track. Getting back on track with the advice, my last piece of advice would be to not skip out on campus events. So that means campus tours or events that the campus will hold the first week before classes. Don't skip out on those because you could potentially meet a lot of people. I know when I first moved down here, a couple days before class, they had a bingo type of event, and it's just really fun, and I really don't think you should skip out on that because number one, it introduces you to the campus, it gets you more familiar with the layout and everything, gets you more ready to go to class, and you could potentially meet some people who are going through the same thing as you. I think that really just helps with the transition as well, because it gets you on campus more.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure most campuses have, like, ours is like week of welcome.
Yes.
And it's tons of events for freshmen and first year students.
Every single day.
Literally every single day. And it's like, there's a whole itinerary of, like, things they put on for freshmen. And, like, some of them you can't even skip. Like, there's some of them, like, you can't skip.
Yeah.
Because it's, like, that first year class you have that they, like, it counts for that or something.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I lucked out because I didn't have to do any of it. But, like, I'd love to have done it. I still did, like, we have, like, Build a Bison. I still went and did it the first year down here. I didn't care that I wasn't a freshman. It was a first year student, so they let me do it.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not missing out. Obviously, we know I've always wanted to come here. So, I was getting my dang bison. And I went and built my bison.
You wanted that bison. You were going to have that bison.
So, get the freaking bison.
Alright, so that is all we have for advice and stories and such for this episode. What emoji should we tell them to comment?
The one with, like, the eyeballs. It's, like, shook.
The one that's like...
Yeah.
Or the one that's just like... Like, you're talking about the one with the open mouth or the...
That.
Just the eyes?
Yeah, just the eyes. That one's better. I hope y'all seen the facial expression.
Oh, yes.
We'll insert
Alright.
it on the screen.
Yeah, comment the, like, wide eye emoji if you made it to this point in the video. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.